Taxpayer Hotline.
So whose tablet are you? Oh, Mel's.
It's the only one you have in there. I took the first drawer.
From Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9, from the City Hall Council Chambers, it's time once again for the Taxpayers Hotline Show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host.
Hi. Whoa, look, there's three of us. What a spectrum. We have City Controller Kaz Kwiatkowski and my good friend,
Mark Alexandrovich.
former City Councilman and
DJ Barker,
the one and only.
the one and only, thank goodness.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. It was a couple of dry weeks there with nothing going on.
Oh,
We're off.
It begins.
go ahead, caller.
Hey, Kaz, how you doing, man?
Good, I'm glad to be back.
Yeah. Hey, that stuff's still sitting there, 610, or on East 13th Street, like I told you.
Yeah, you know what? I went by there. I must have had the wrong address.
Yeah, 610.
610?
Yeah. Still
That's-
sitting there, bud.
I went right by there. I must have been somewhere in the wrong area. Because I meant to go by there and I thought it was cleaned up.
Nah, nothing's been cleaned up.
Was that East or West 13th? East 13th, wasn't it?
East 13th, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
anyhow,
I did mention that to the Public Works and I told them to get on it. I didn't want our guys picking it up necessarily, you know.
right. Well, it's still there. I wanted to tell you that. And, you know, I hate to do this every year, but I got to complain about the streets again.
What, the snow?
Yep. The little bit of snow we had, these streets were a mess. They were left to melt itself. People weren't across the intersection side across East 13th Street and Ash Street to the intersection. No salt, no plow. You know, it's like this every year. Seems like the east side's neglected. You know, our streets are not done properly. Every single year. It didn't used to be like that. You know, maybe it's because I complain if they don't do this East 13th Street, but I can tell you what, it's dangerous and someone's going to get hurt. And when they do get hurt, I'm going to ask them to try. They might not be able to. I'm going to ask them to try to sue the city because I've complained about this enough times on this taxpayer hotline about this street not being salted, not being plowed. Somebody's going to get injured, and the city should be responsible for however they get injured, or injuries, somebody's death. I mean, come on, let's just throw some salt down on the road, especially at the intersection. I mean, if you're not going to do the rest of it, fine, but at least do it where the intersections are.
So it's right around 13th and Ash, right?
Right. Yep. I mean, the streets, you know, you can tell they weren't plowed because where the tires are was completely ice, and in the middle, where the center of your car would be, there was a big hump of ice. So you can tell that the plow was never laid down. I mean, I live on the street. I know it wasn't plowed. Okay, and we didn't even have that much snow, you know, but it's always left for the cars to run it over, melt it with the heat under their engines, and nighttime it freezes up, daytime a little bit thaws, freezes back up. It's like this every single year. You know, so I'm asking somebody to plow these streets on the east side and solve them before somebody's seriously injured.
I hope some other people call up because actually I got some compliments when I was, people had written me and said they were happy with the plowing. So,
well, maybe some people are, but I'm just telling you the way 13th Street is, East 13th Street is. I'm telling you the way it is every year. I mean, I wouldn't be saying this if it wasn't. You know, I don't have something out for the street department, you know, but I'm saying somebody's going to get injured, and they should be responsible. I know you can't sue the city, but they should be responsible if somebody's injured at that intersection sliding through there. Okay, and I just got one other comment I wanted to tell you. I noticed when the mayor read the budget the other day, you know, at the city council meeting, none of the bobbleheads had any questions for him. I sure hope when you get on council that you will at least have a question for the mayor about his budget. Okay?
okay. Yeah, I wasn't here for that here, when he presented it to council, right?
Yeah, when he present. I mean, even Mark sitting there had questions about the budget. How do you not even have a question about the budget? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I will ask questions, and I'll try to do them during the meeting so people see it.
Yeah, I mean, ask questions just for the taxpayers' sake. I mean, don't just sit there and act scared to ask him a question. I mean, it's ridiculous. But I think that's all I got to complain about today. No, I have one more other thing, buddy.
Okay.
John called the other day, 2 weeks ago, and he was talking about, we were talking about the refugees, and he had made a comment about, when you get something from the government or whatever, like the languages, how it's in, a couple languages. I'm holding in my hand Department of Labor and Industry, Pennsylvania. It is in 12 languages. Plus English.
Yeah, the sad part is that when they have to deal with that, we even have that problem at City Hall that if we, let's say, arrest someone or someone comes in, the price of an interpreter is not cheap.
Right, but I mean, if you go into Crawford County, okay, it's only in maybe 6. You go into other counties, it's only a couple. In Erie, Pennsylvania, there is 21 languages.
Yeah, at least I think, I heard there was maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, I have it in my hand. I got it right in my hand because I had to file for unemployment.
And it's growing because in the public schools, they're getting kids from new countries that they probably haven't done yet,
Right, but I just want to make comment to that gentleman know that. I mean,
Yeah, it's not cheap to do all this transcribing, and it costs. When I was on the school board, I remember I was amazed, how much they get per hour.
right.
If you're just writing a letter home to a parent.
But you know what, Jazz? It's also expensive to pay their rent and everything else, and guess who's paying that? We are.
Yep. It's one thing if for those that eventually get off it, that's what you hope is that you give them a start and they get going, they get a job, and then they pay back to the community. No one likes to see the long-term one, though.
Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to work, but I'm not seeing it with my eyes, and I don't need glasses yet. You guys have a nice day.
You too.
I got a good one for you.
What's that?
If you go to Toronto, French Quebec, or Mexico City, how many languages, when they hand you something, an instruction book, how many languages are printed there?
Well, I do remember the road signs in Montreal were in Canadian. So I don't think there was any English, There might have been dual purpose, that,
Well, you'd get French.
French and English maybe. Go ahead, caller.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hey, look who's back.
Yeah, that guy in the middle, he looks like he should be there all the time.
Well, you never know. Maybe you were watching a repeat from this program of 2 years ago.
Not quite.
Can you imagine the amount of letters there'd be in our names?
Oh, that's true. But I've got a couple of things I'd like to discuss with you gentlemen today.
Just a couple, John?
Just a couple. Well, I could take the whole show up if I wanted to, but first of all, who do we put on the convention authority? Does the mayor have an appointment?
I'm going to ask Mark, because I'm not experienced enough at it. Do you remember how the breakdown was on the convention authority?
I thought the mayor had a couple of appointments.
You guys didn't, though, right?
I don't remember one. At
I don't
least
think
didn't have
I don't think council did. I think John, because that's the way it's set up now. I think it's
The mayor had an appointment. I thought Grossman had an appointment.
and the state has one too. I think.
State had one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how many. I've gone to their meetings. I'm trying to remember how many. I'm thinking their board was like 8, maybe 9.
Why I
think
brought
so.
that up is here we have Nick Scott going to spend $150 million down there.
Yeah.
And Sean Wiley saying, well, we got $35 million or $25 million to build a hotel. Well, let's take the money, that's taxpayers' dollars, not stick us in the long run with a bond, and take it to make improvements in the city or along the waterfront to make the property more valuable.
Well, I agree with you, John. What I don't know though is how they have this money segregated. Whether it has to be for, what they want it for, the state. Because it would make sense that.
Wendell, in my opinion, or I understand, put it aside for an improvement down in that area, not specifically for a hotel.
Well, I agree with you, John. I said all along, and DJ, we'll go along with this about, I've said all along that if somebody like Mr. Scott wants to come along and do it, it only made sense. And you know what? I was down in Allentown, and I went onto the internet, and I was surprised. I mean, I knew this plan was coming, because I had talked to Mr. Scott a long time ago.
I knew it was coming.
And you know, I didn't know the extent of it. I knew it was going to be very impressive. And, you know, he's kind of taken the same tack that they are in Allentown. They had the same kind of program, something like the CRIZ, which is going to be where the state gives up their tax money, and that money gets put into the project by the state, you know. So, I mean, that was great. If you've seen what they're doing in Allentown, they got the whole middle of the city carved out
Like Allentown.
for an arena and a hotel project. And here's Nick Scott, who wants to build 2 hotels, some residential, which I agree with, some commercial. You can do some with that smokestack.
Well, he was going to make that a lighthouse like Penlick was going to years ago.
Well, they have to. It's loaded with carcinogens. I mean, they can't blow. One time they were going to blow it up, and they gave up that idea quick. But
Yeah, it would never come down, never.
yeah, that'd be bad news.
But you know what I thought when I read the proposal for Mr. Scott?
Yeah.
Anything that's planned for the GAF property has to go back to the drawing board.
Well, I think it changes the scope of the project.
Yeah, he
It put private money into it and not the taxpayers on the hook.
But you know, it's possible though, if they do it right.
But the scope of what Mr. Scott is proposing was not only one punch to the GAF property, it was 2. It was 2.
But you know, it'd be nice though, if they could develop it, both projects. You know, where you could have really a super zone down here.
But they have to fit them together.
Oh yeah, they do. That's what you're right about.
They cannot be 2
Competing.
mirror images of each other.
I think what it does to the GF property, it takes a lot of the pressure off. You know, you have a parking ramp now. Excuse me. If you can work out a shuttle system along the waterfront to go from Nick Scott's
Penlick
place.
was going to do that years ago.
What, a shuttle?
I said, Penlick was going to do that years ago.
What, a shuttle system or
No,
develop
that
it?
whole project like Nick Scott's doing.
Well, I think that's great because now it opens up GAF to a lot of maybe other concepts. You know, it doesn't, now you don't have to squeeze everything into,
And put taxpayers in there.
yeah, well, I think ultimately they wanted to, but now when you got a plan like, you know, when David was talking about maybe some little, I'm not saying this is pie in the sky, but now when you don't have it so congested and everything has to be there, now you can open up that land. Maybe you could have wider, like, roadways through there, maybe
Like, you know, you're
different
talking
kind
about
of,
the projects down there. You have the McAllister building. Nobody wants to build because they can't get any taxpayers' money.
mm-hmm.
And you got CATV sitting there. Now that I said what I told you before, once the mayor gets a hold of this, CAT TV is going to be wasted unless they go out and get contributions. And that's baloney. The way the other project was, they got $250,000, the city got $800,000, and they didn't have any worries. Now they're going to have worries. People, we can kiss CATV goodbye. If the mayor gets his hands into that, it's done. And his bobbleheads down in city council that he has now, his bobbleheads will accept anything he sends down. Just like, you know, our tax increases that we're going to have now. Another backdoor service tax. How are they going to justify the sewer service charge? Is that going to go on the service charge again like the rest of it? What about the garbage fees? How is he going to implement that? How is he going to implement it? Add $7 per quarter? Now, we're out there paying our sewer, and they're using the water to determine how much. The sewer bill will be. Yet there's a service charge. Now we're going to have to put another $9 service charge on that? Why doesn't he just come out and say we have to do X amount of millage for the taxes? Why is he backdooring everybody?
Well, the advantage to the sewer and water is that this will affect those outside the city too. It won't be just
Well,
as,
how can the sewer and water be affected outside the city with just an additional charge, a service charge on the sewer? I don't buy that.
what do you mean? What did they, I was gone, John, what did they raise?
Just adding a service charge to your quarterly billing.
Well, everybody that's on the sewer is going to have to pay that service charge.
Yeah, but how are they going to determine? It's going to be determined differently. It's just going to be like a fee for printing the sewer bills. Now, I can understand the garbage because it's X amount per month. The sewer, they were calculating your bill from the amount of water you're using.
They did that because they didn't want to buy what they call effluent meters.
Right. But it's just another backdoor thing. And, you're seeing CSX and the port project out there in Harbor Creek. How much money is CSX donating to building those warehouses, the loading facilities, and everything else up here? Not a nickel. Do you know how much they donated down in McKees Rocks?
How much?
$50 million.
But nothing up here.
Not a cent. What's that tell you? It's another one of John Elliott's dreams. So I don't know where we're going to be going, but it's time the people in this city woke up, and we need another bobblehead on city council that doesn't know how to go up and down. We need one that goes sideways. Another one. And I won't say any more. People can read between the lines.
So how you been, John? Good?
Pardon?
How you been? Good?
I've been super. How about you?
How's your wife?
She's doing great. She just walked in and turned around and walked out. She doesn't like politics.
Oh, yeah, well, last time I seen her, she was not,
We were having a fire sale.
yeah.
No, she's coming along, and I'm coming along.
No, I'm doing
Everybody
okay.
else is coming along till we get our taxes.
I had to make a little side trip for a couple of weeks. My granddaughter, I have a new granddaughter,
Yes.
but she needed a little surgery in Philadelphia, so everything went good, and everything's fine, and
Yeah, I was listening to some of this budget session. I just scrolled through it last week, and I heard Paul Lichtenwalder talking about salaries.
yeah.
And I don't know where he got his figure, but he told, I don't know whether he told Jessica, that the cost of living increases so far, that's how the salary was based on, and he threw out 8%. Well, my God, I like to have an 8% cost of living adjustment. He must be in a world of his own. 8%? And I don't know what they were talking about. I think they were talking about your office, how you had everything right down to the last penny, and it was a good leave and all that. And they were talking about overtime for police and fire. But when he came out with an 8% cost of living, I wish I had the opportunity to know it was on. I would have taped it.
I'll be there tonight, so I'll fill you in what I hear.
Yeah, I don't know. I caught a few who were there, but it seems to me that John Evans left early. So, and he's supposed to be a financial whiz. Well, if he was a financial whiz ducking out on the finances, shame on him. We'll let somebody else get in, Harp. If not, I'll look through my notes here and call back.
Okay.
I have personally,
Yep.
see now I have no debts, I have no, no shackles.
No shackles.
There's no shackles on me now.
Yep.
I've always agreed with services that the city provides that extend out beyond the city limits, that those have the, when they talk about the need to raise revenue, the need to raise funds or money, whatever term you want to use, that whatever goes beyond the limits of the city gets the outlying areas that basically use the benefits of the city. They don't pay for it.
Right.
To get them to kind of contribute into the pot a little bit, if we want to say that. And by doing that, to try and hold off increasing millage.
We've had a couple minor contributors to projects over the years. Mill Creek comes to mind one time, somebody else. But you're right, years ago when we had to make the decision about the zoo, and the city could no longer afford to keep it open all winter. Our gas well was died out. That was a large source of, a large source of help, plus financially. And you remember, it wasn't too long ago that the Civic Center Authority forgets, quite conveniently, that it was the city many years that underwrote the losses, the operating losses of the convention center, the baseball park, until now they're turned over to the county, but to the authority. So, yeah, we've always been here, and I hear this thing about, we got to do this, we got to do that, and I'm going, for the vast majority of Erieites, they don't share in a lot of this stuff. They don't get to go to the zoo. A lot of people, there's a lot of kids that have never been there, from the, lesser parts, where their parents don't have good incomes,
I have something for you to look into.
Yeah, and not only that, for years there's been a lot of things that kids have never seen or taken advantage of, like the Civic Center.
There's something for you to look into when you're on council.
What's that? The
repayment of wasn't it?
Hold on one second, sir. Ma'am?
Wasn't it $1 million that the city contributed to run a water line down State Street to the hotel?
I think they did.
And I think it was $1 million, maybe $1.5 million. It was wasn't it on some kind of a deferred repayment?
But I think we have little chance of ever seeing that.
Well, but now you have the Convention Center Authority talking about a second hotel.
Right.
And it just raises to my mind, wait a minute.
Why don't they pay the first one up?
Yeah, why don't you pay the money back for the first water line that went there?
Go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller. Hello?
You're listening to the TV?
If you're listening to TV, turn it off.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Tiny. You got to turn your TV down. There he goes. Hello? I know him. He'll be right back.
Yeah.
It just, with the activity the last couple of days. with
Makes you
Mr.
wonder, right?
Scott's proposal, and, it's just kind of, it's like, wait a minute, let's get the one put away before we start talking.
What a
about
shot across the bow that was. SS Scott.
Hello?
Go ahead, Tiny. Go ahead, you're on. Hello? You're hearing the TV, there's a delay. You got to turn your TV down. To that caller, because you're hearing the feedback, give me a call back, but you got to turn your TV down because we're being we're on a delay. You're not catching it on quick, so just give me a call back, but turn your TV down low.
Or off.
Or off, right? Yeah, that what a shot across the bow. When I saw that scope of that project, I'm going, holy moly, that's
Mr. Scott won't.
it's GAF East.
Mr. Scott won't need to tap into the city's water. He could run his own line out into the bay.
Wasn't it interesting about a skating rink? And years ago they propositioned, my son brought it up once about, they used to have these beach volleyball courts down there. And people went down there and they, think if you could have like beach volleyball courts, a skating rink during the winter, things to bring people down,
It is very difficult. I drive that piece of road every day. It's difficult now for me to drive through there without envisioning, the pictures that were on TV and that were in the newspaper. It's like almost trying to look at that piece of land
I learned.
And imagine all that stuff
Mark,
sitting on it
you're a
now.
businessman. I learned many years ago. And it's something that I've always kept with me. A businessman will do what'll make money, or he won't be in business too long. And Nick Scott's no fool, okay? He knows that, to promote his businesses, he's got to keep people down there. Well, with the residential aspect and with the little things he's thrown in there, the ice rink and all that, you can think of many reasons why you'd want to come down there, People tell me, oh, it's cold down there. I said, well, wait a minute. You go to the library. People go down the peninsula in wintertime, right? They will come if there's something down there. And I think the fact that he's doing what he does might even help, like you said now, maybe on the other side, some other businesses that are not affiliated with Nick will want to come in. And that might be the best thing for the city of Erie, is that now you got a nice entertainment district down there. But like you're right, they shouldn't try to shoot each other down. I mean, don't try to, reinvent the wheel when you got two hotels on one side. Come up with another plan.
But there's also no one in this community that knows what it takes from the competitive point of view to rent hotel rooms and to fill seats in a restaurant.
Well, what you're seeing is, I went to a meeting once where he proposed what he thought the size of the hotel should be. Not the size that the taxpayers funded, but what he would have to be able to, well, you know yourself. You can't build a building way bigger than you can manage. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah,
Hey, there you are. Now you're back.
I'm through to you. Yes,
Yeah, you got that TV will cause you a lot of interference.
I turned it off.
Yeah, now we can hear you and you're hearing us.
Yes, sir.
So what's up?
Oh, just trying to figure out what's going on. You got two good guys that sit back and don't speak.
Oh no, Mark's speaking, and DJ's, for the first time in a long time, he's brought his opinion up.
Oh,
Yeah, we're actually talking about the new $150 million, was that what it was?
Yes.
$150 million project envisioned by a private businessman on the bayfront.
well, Scott's is good.
Yeah, I'll say this about Nick. He's a tough businessman. I know that personally. And, whatever your opinion is of him, this will be a great project. Now, I'm telling you, given the chance, he doesn't do, I haven't seen too many things he's touched.
That didn't make money.
Yeah, and if they don't, they'll be switched real quick. If you've seen, like he had, a good example was he closed down that sports bar, Damon's.
Yeah.
And now you got three or four things in there, all, and if they don't do good, hey, you'll find something else. That it's private business, and Mark's a businessman. I always said that, that Mark knows how much he's got to sell his motorcycle for. He knows how much he's got to pay every week out. And, this will be interesting. This will actually, I think, help the other project, because now you can be more visionary with the other one. You don't have to be worried about putting everything on one little piece of property. It'd be interesting. Maybe we can open up the scope a little bit.
Yeah.
I actually think, in a perfect world, that there's no reason why we can't make people start to come downtown Erie, and they both can't, to some degree, complement each other and start making people drive down the Bayfront Highway instead of going up 90.
Yeah.
And Peach Street, 19.
Well, the one thing that I see that Mr. Scott's going to gain from, that the GF property would not, is the close proximity to the hospital for people that come to visit, when they come.
And I'm sure he's done studies on,
I wouldn't doubt if there were some real intense conversations when people come to visit, that they could leave a car, in a parking lot and visit, family in the hospital and go across the street to the hotel,
Well,
to
when
the
I
restaurant, and never have to go further than a block.
when I visited my granddaughter, that was interesting. They had it's a children's hospital. They had a hotel and a Ronald McDonald House. So, right there, you could, if you had to stay long-term, you had a choice. Now, Ronald McDonald House is tough to get into,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
But even in,
But you had a hotel that wasn't too bad cost-wise.
but even in Pittsburgh, with the Children's Hospital there is a hotel
Mm-hmm.
that I think is almost next to their parking lot, but it's the same thing. You can't even, it's useless to try even get a reservation. And I think actually I got in there once because somebody canceled. It's like I just happened to like walk in and say, do you have, I have to spend an extra night, do you have a room? And they said, yes.
Yeah.
What do you think, Tiny? You like the idea?
Yeah. I can only hope that it will happen here.
Well, he said, he being a businessman, I think the hotel's first, he said, and then, 3 to 5 years, because it'll take time to, you got to remember, he's using his own money. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And, if you watch another great gentleman, and I always use him as an LG too, is Waldemar, Mr. It's right at the tip of my tongue.
And on the tip of mine too, now that you said
Yeah.
that.
And there's another gentleman that, one ride at a time, let it gain a little money, let it come, then try another project. And I think that's what you see with Nick, He doesn't start one until he's got, he had a huge investment probably in, up there in Peak and Peak. So, it's one thing to say, oh, yeah, keep doing this, that. It's tough. But I think you'll see it. And I think if you're patient, and it's up to us to support those things. If we do, then, you'll see more.
This is actually the first I'm hearing about it because I was out of town for the holiday. But from what you guys are saying already, it sounds like a great idea.
I think it's on like Go Erie. You can maybe see a drawing. It's quite impressive.
Good.
In fact, I'm going to ask Mr. Scott if I can have a copy of it.
I bet he'll come on.
I'd
Get
like
him
to
on
get
the
him on
show.
there.
I think we need to get some more in the city.
Yeah, but I think you're going to see that. I think this could be a big impetus to get people down. And things that happen that are positive is that you will see that as people travel down State Street or across the Bayfront, you'll see corresponding businesses, trying to do things. It's interesting, like below Perry Square, you got a lot of high-class restaurants and places that are different than the other stretch, which is more clubs, I call it. So Perry Square down is an interesting, unique, actually it's a nice neighborhood developing slowly. And between the hospital, between, the development on the Bayfront, and if you've seen what they downtown Erie wanted to do, their plan is to, where the Bayfront Road comes in with State Street, it's like a no man's land right now. They want to calm that down. And I think if they can do that, and you make it so it's user-friendly, you still have access to the highway, but it won't be the speedway you see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think those are the kind of things that people love water. If you go to Baltimore, you go to Chicago, you go to Delaware, Wilmington, go to Philadelphia, any place along the water, people love water development.
Yeah.
We need it.
We do, and I think, I'm glad this is happening, and, thanks, Tiny, but, it's going to take time.
I was bored this morning. I was just driving around with nothing to do, and I went down to the East Pier, the one where you can see the lighthouse from. And I just hung around for 2 hours watching a ship coming in, a cargo ship that was bringing salt in. And they were going to be dropping it off. So I just hung around, checked out the sights and the scenes, took a lot of pictures. It's really interesting.
Wouldn't it be
It's
nice if
down
we
there.
could, Mark knows what I'm talking about, if we could develop the East Avenue area?
Yeah.
Changing demographics.
Yeah. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, Kaz, if you're available for our neighborhood watch meeting tonight.
Actually, I think I got budget hearings tonight, and so does Bobby, I think.
Yeah, well, we're still going to have it, so.
Okay, you know what? That starts at what time?
7 o'clock.
If the meeting ends early enough, but I don't think it will. But, I'll keep you in mind for next month for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we got budget hearings tonight, so it starts at 6.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for calling. Neighborhood Watch is a great one. They're doing good work up there. All the neighborhood watches are. I went over to Had the pleasure of going to St. Anne's the other one night, and that was great.
Oh, the one that they do in the basement.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the name of that.
East Erie or East Avenue or?
Goes from, 12th Street down to...
I like the name when they call themselves the Vipers or the Cobras.
St. Anne's, is that over on Parade?
Oh, East Avenue,
Oh, okay.
Avenue, 10th and East.
Gotcha.
right across from the New York Lunch.
I see the roof. I couldn't help but notice because I was going south yesterday.
It is an embarrassment.
That roof at 12th and East Avenue had to be from the windstorm that we had a week ago.
It collapsed a little bit?
On the north side of the building. A lot of it
I seen-
is gone.
I was gone, while I was gone, I was watching Go Erie, and there was a nasty letter, well, a good letter to the editor. It's an embarrassment. There's no doubt about it. You know, they've been giving this guy every opportunity, but, you know, it's an eyesore on a high, you know, people that come in from the east side or going out to the east side see that.
Yeah.
I'm still convinced.
You know what we're
listen to
talking
me,
about?
I am still convinced that with the price of steel being where it is now, that building might be actually worth more.
Scrap?
Now, we also have to acknowledge it in today's environment, that building could never, ever be cost-effectively
Yeah.
replaced. And to think about it, why, even back in the day when they did, foundry work,
Yeah.
Right.
why did they need a building that was like
That big?
100 feet tall? Where today they're replaced with, something that's 2 stories tall.
Did it have something to do with the heat up on the top or
I
something?
don't know, but I can't even begin to imagine.
No matter where you go, though, you see the same design.
But working in there, well, see, that was at a time when heat cost nothing, almost nothing.
Yeah.
You couldn't,
Well, if you're in a blast furnace, the heat was free.
well, yeah, but even just to work in there, once you were away from that.
Yeah.
Do they do anything there now? Aren't there? little
Somebody told me
businesses?
there's some workers in there,
How can you do that with no roof?
at the other end.
Oh, at the other end. So it's just completely abandoned.
Probably the one end is.
Storage in there, but I
Wow.
was still thinking those boards,
Yeah.
when they came loose, had to go down in.
I really like that idea. It just scrap the whole building.
Well, there's another building next to it, the one that I think is just north of it. The sides are coming off. And
Yeah.
again,
Well, you know how
can't
many
help
years
but
it's-
notice the steel structure in
You know
there.
how many years it's been
Right.
since somebody was in that building? I mean, on a regular basis?
Take the good parts from the building.
That's pretty hardy. That's somebody you don't want to mess with.
Go ahead, caller.
You were, the fellow from Aldermere was Nelson.
Yeah, Paul Nelson, you're right.
And 12th and East Avenue, why don't you call up John Elliott? He's got a lot of money to spend. And then he could tear those buildings down and turn it into a park. Some of the stuff that goes on, Kath, and I got a gripe with this.
Yeah.
I ride by that 12th and Lincoln Park and Ride that has somebody's name from PennDOT on the canopy, and it makes me want to throw up.
Oh, that new parking place.
We spent all that money for 128 parking spots, and listen, I ride by there a lot. Never a car there. If we need parking for 8 great Tuesdays or Thursdays, whatever that is down there, there was a better way to do it.
Well, that's an example of when there's money to be had
From the government.
from the government, somebody's always got an idea.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Think about that $5 million at 12th and East Avenue
Right.
instead of a parking lot that nobody uses.
Let me tell you something I saw that was interesting. First, back to your thing about the parking. Most communities have a parking right outside the city.
Yeah.
That's so you don't drive in the city.
There's one on Interstate 79, like around Meadville.
You're right, and my wife has used that for, she had a seminar down there, and she used it, that it takes you into downtown Meadville or something.
Kaz, now that you're going to be on council, it's time for some fact-checking. When these people come to you and ask for your name on the dotted line for bonds and stuff, let's get some
fact checking going on.
Well, I plan on it because you know what? I do a lot of traveling. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
And I was amazed. I was down in Allentown, Bethlehem area, and you were talking about, and Mark and DJ, about that building on 12th Street.
Yeah,
Now, those are kind of bad shape, but the brick ones that are around there, they're probably not as bad a shape. Yeah. If you went down to the old Bethlehem steel plant down in Bethlehem, PA, that's where the casino is for the Allentown, Bethlehem area. They have incorporated a lot of those old buildings into usable things. You know, I mean, and what are we doing? We're sitting here and they're sitting there ready to fall.
oh, yeah.
And other communities are turning them into loft apartments or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, even storage would be better than.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, to look at these buildings that are probably structurally sound yet,
Yeah,
you know, to some degree, or if they're not anymore, that's our fault because we allowed them to get that way. But those buildings, that's what we ought to be looking at maximizing the use of.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you go through, like I was in Minneapolis and they have the old flour mills that aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
And they've turned them into hotels and,
Yeah. You know, though, without those roofs on those big red bricks, 12th and East Avenue, that weather's starting to destroy the brick structure just because of erosion and attacking the brick and mortar of the building.
and that's a shame because you had buildings that, in other towns, if you've seen them, they've incorporated them. And when I was in Duluth, they actually took a whole warehouse that probably was used for fish packing and, you know, different things.
Yeah,
And they turned that into about a 4-story hotel.
yeah. Oh,
And you-
yeah.
and-
Yeah, you know, you have to use your head. You know, when I think about 14th and 13th and Peachtree there, here's the names I want to see. I want to see Andy Cicini. I want to see Rick Griffin. I want to see Berlin. I want to see those people involved in developing that area because they've got skin in the game. They own property there already, and they'll make it work, and they'll make that successful.
Yeah, if you look at the brewery, you know, the train station,
Yeah,
now that had a lot of guys that failed, that tried.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not an easy project when you look at, I remember what it was before they even started, and it was not pretty.
yeah.
So,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
what you see there today is a lot of people losing their money, but a lot of people that had bright ideas. And I think that area is an example. Like if you take the brewery and now along what used to be where the trucks were, they've turned them into businesses. And if Mr. Cicini's successful with the post office project,
Yeah.
that'll be a nice area down there.
I think, and I think he will be. You know, look what Rick Griffin's done over there at the Lovell place. It's starting to. It's never been run down since that one fellow that died owned it.
Oh, McGarry?
Getting nicer and nicer every week that goes by. He's doing something over there. And you know, there's a case, Kaz, where there were like 30 potential rental units, but they didn't see the need for them. And a few years ago they didn't fulfill that part of the project because they didn't see the need. And then we put all this money into the Mercantile building to develop some housing. That granted, it's all rented now, but no personal businessman could have ever waited 7 years to fill that place up. You know, you'd go broke if you made decisions like that. But again, you go back to the people that do these things. It's not their money. They don't care. And it makes me mad. I get mad as...
See, I don't mind giving a private businessman a little money, but if he's got to have some of his skin in the game too, though.
You know,
if he puts a large amount of money in a big investment,
yeah.
You know.
Here's the way I look at it. Every project that gets set out by an authority is a public project because they don't put any money in it. First, they get money. Look at Gap. We gave them $10 million to clean the property up. Mm-hmm. And there's nobody at the convention center that has any kind of money to develop it. So we're going to have incentives where the public's got their money back in the damn place, and there's no private investment. You have to have skin in the game, Kaz. You got to care what's happening down there, and you got to go to sleep at night worrying about what you're going to do tomorrow to make it work. Where these jokers that work for these authorities and stuff don't care.
Well, I always laugh because they call them visionaries, and
Oh, they're visionaries, all right.
but I was thinking the other day. Now here's a good one. You follow sports?
I do, yeah.
Well, in Atlanta, they just built during the Olympics, which wasn't too long ago. They built a brand new stadium, right?
Yeah,
It's about 20 years old,
yeah,
and they've already signed its death warrant.
yeah.
They're
yeah.
building a new one in Cobb County.
$1 billion
right.
stadium to take its place or something?
Now, I'm going to be a visionary. Here's my plan. I think we should have a 20,000-seat arena
Oh, yeah,
on the waterfront,
yeah, oh,
and
yeah.
government can pay for it all, and they can name it after they can name it after me. I don't care, you know. Well, 20,000 seats with all the luxury boxes in the world, and you know,
Yeah.
a state-of-the-art baseball field next door, and a big concert arena next to it with 6,000 seats.
Yeah,
That's my vision.
yeah, Cass, and
But I'm not going to put a dime into it.
yeah, if we don't really get a grip and control of some of those authorities and what have you, we're going to keep getting the same thing. I mean, it's not going to change.
Well, here's what amazed me during the arena project. Mark, you remember this? You were big in the arena. You and I both were.
Yeah.
We were there in the initial stages. Now, they had a nice project with escalators, the whole deal, right? Beautiful team rooms, stores, the whole thing. It's going to be better than this one.
Yeah,
Now, the guy screwed up that put the bids out.
okay.
So what'd they do? They rewarded him by letting him rebid again.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
remember
what the
that
hell?
bidding
What the
process.
what the heck is that all about? You know?
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
you know, if that was private business, number one, you'd be fired.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah. And I do remember that, where it went back out for bids.
And then they had to scale the project back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And now your insurance had to give us a couple million to bring us around. But,
Yeah.
I mean, they scaled down the size of the glass in the front was supposed to be like all glass. And remember, Mark?
Yep.
And the escalators in there, they had team stores where you could go down there all year and buy Bayhawks goods, Explosion goods, Otters goods. And even the locker rooms were all like, you know, different.
Yeah. Kaz, and think about it. They still were $1 million short. They couldn't put up the nice scoreboard in that place.
Yeah, there you go. Now see,
Yeah, I mean, even after all was said and done, they still were $1 million.
I tell you what I do. I go back to tell that guy that screwed up. I think a nice scoreboard with your name on it would be great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. But yeah, Kaz, it is. It just, and I hate, and I'm not anti-progress. I'd really like to see this city prosper as much as it can. It's a little city, but I just, people come up with these ideas. I mean, and they don't have any they haven't done any investigation to support what they're trying to do, and then people throw money at them and let them try.
Well, it's like the bump outs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They envisioned bump outs all over the city. They haven't done them yet.
Yeah.
Right, because the money won't be there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we always seem to have a half a plan.
Yeah. Oh,
I remember
yeah.
and people say, well, you're just being negative. No, I'm 65 years old. And I remember when they had the last big redevelopment project when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I have seen State Street closed, reopened, shut down, closed, reopened, 12th Street, different roads, constantly going back and forth.
Oh,
Different plans.
I'm a year older than you. I remember all
Well, you
that.
remember when they tore down everything downtown?
Oh, yeah.
Only to find out that the money dried up to rebuild the town.
Yeah,
I mean-
used to catch the bus at the Boston store and go home, from going to school downtown.
Yeah, we got involved in a little thing called Vietnam, and all of a sudden the money that was going to be for projects and communities went to the war. Now, what we did,
Yeah.
because we had this grandiose plan, instead of doing it piecemeal, we tore down the whole city.
Yeah, no, I
You remember that?
Oh, I do.
All the old buildings were gone. Now, all of a sudden, all the visionary plans, the high rises and everything, never envisioned
Yeah,
because the money wasn't there to come back, the government funding.
yeah. We're a small town, and we're getting a little bit smaller, and that's what we got to work with.
I keep
and-
telling people, the county hasn't grown. The
yeah.
last 30 years, much.
Yeah, yeah. But listen, you guys, to all of you, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Kaz, I look forward to seeing you in council.
Well, it's going to be different.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I had my buddy here, but
I wish you did too. I wish you did too. But I'm going to let you go. I've kept you too long as it is. But
Okay.
Thanks for listening to me.
Thanks for calling. The eighth
Thanks.
councilman
finally got on there.
moves up to be one of the 7.
It's going to be different.
Actually, you'll have the most in this chambers, other than Mr. Clem.
Yeah.
You're going to be next in line for seniority.
I think I'm the oldest elected politician around here.
Even in seniority.
Could be. Go ahead, caller.
Hey,
That's scary,
Ken,
though.
I just wanted to make a comment here. You were talking about, things that's embarrassing in the city here, a few back here about the roof there, 12th and East. Well, I was out front cleaning litter up in front of my house, which I have to do daily, and the code officer drove straight down the street, straight past all that furniture sitting on the right side of the street. So, I had to make a comment. You're talking about embarrassing things in the city. Here we have furniture sitting on the street that's been there for 2 weeks.
Well, you know
and
what?
The code officer drives right by.
I'm going to walk right up there right after this. We're going to get it straightened out.
610 East 13th Street.
I want to see if they cited him, because I turned this in before I left.
I know you did. But I'm just telling you. And I just wanted to say one other thing. We have that parking garage that everyone's been talking about that costs them millions of dollars, that's used 8 times a year.
Oh, you're talking about the park and ride?
Right. It's used 8 times. Well, I wouldn't even call it a park and ride. It's used for the 8 Great Tuesday concerts. That's the only thing it's used for. It's used 8 times a year,
It's used
correct?
for one other thing.
What's that?
I think every Monday, they have the car shows.
Oh, they put it there now?
The car shows that take up that entire, actually that parking lot, and they do fill that up, that whole section for parking for the pier
Yeah.
is full. And I can't think of what they call it. It runs like June, July, and August.
But they used to
It's
put
like a
the,
cruise, I think it's like the Bayfront Cruise In.
they used to put them
Yeah, I
down
think
right
that's
by the Sloppy Duck before. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, that's one day a week, right, Mark?
Yes, I think it's every Monday for like 3 months. And if the weather's nice, it's a good place to just go for a walk.
Right, yeah, I've been down there, but I'm saying, people's complaining about that, but we keep electing the same people over and over who pick these authority members, and they're put on these boards, so you can't elect the same people over and over and expect different results. Mercy was just, he was praising this guy at the last meeting.
How about the cruise boat terminal?
Oh, we don't want to go there, do we?
Yeah,
Again, you have to remember I'm
he's
unshackled.
praising that guy on how great of a job he's doing, but he's spending all these millions of dollars on a little parking thing, and people have to smarten up here and figure out that some of the stuff's got to start being voted down. Our money could be better spent in this city than spending on a place to park.
Maybe we need term limits on the authorities.
Well, that would be great. So you're going to be on council. Why don't you make that suggestion?
I'm going
Get a hold
to.
of one of them bobbleheads and them.
It'll be interesting if I get a second, but we'll try it.
Get a hold of one of them legislators here from here. He's been in office all these years that don't even have an opponent when they run. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I've said too many of the same people are in the same authorities.
But there's also another thing, again, for those of you who don't know, I do run a small company. It's a family business. There's maybe 10 to 12 employees at peak. It's your own money, and when it is, you just look at things different. Only in government do none of the normal rules of accounting and business apply.
Well, yeah, if you come up short, you just tax.
Or just keep going.
Yeah.
Just basically run the shortage and just keep going. See, in business, it's called the day of reckoning is called the sheriff.
Yeah, we got deficit spending. Are you there, caller? Help me. DJ, you good?
No. I just wanted to share my my hat. I want to make sure everybody stays warm.
Boy, are you ready for winter?
Whoa.
You need to go to
Whoa,
Krause's
that's-
Hardware.
That looks like the guy from the north. What's his name?
Nanook.
Nanook.
I am Nanook.
Go ahead, caller. You'll be the last one.
Oh, that's first and last. Huh? Now that we have a new county executive, does that mean she gets to pick new members for her authorities?
No, they have terms, I think, and what happens usually is as the terms expire, then you can pick new people.
Oh, is that how it's done?
Yeah, and I think they normally have I think they're 4-year limits. Some of them we put on, I think when I was on council, some of the authorities, there were limits on. I think the airport authority has a limit.
Really?
And I think the water authority has limits.
Yeah, usually, John, sometimes they'll serve at the pleasure of the executive. In other words, if until someone counters them, they just keep going, then the executive can get rid of them. But if they got a term, it's usually the term by law, they have to be able to stay.
Not like a city hall employee being put on the authority, right?
No, but they can coerce them, there's ways of,
Like to coerce the city employee.
coerce the authority members, but
I see. Is that how that is?
if you remember at one time when certain mayors come in and they make it pretty clear that if you're not on their plan and their wavelength or idea, if you're not in sync with them, then you can pretty much be assured you're not getting reappointed.
With this Bayfront project now, are all these semis going to be affecting it coming over for this port project? All that traffic has to be trailered
Yeah.
to trains, and there's no trains down there anymore. So where are we going to hook these up, on the OGE tracks?
Good question.
It's another...
There is one set of tracks.
There is one set of tracks. That's what? That's CSX? It has to be.
I'm not certain. There's one set of tracks that crosses over by Sunburst. I think Sunburst.
Is that the one that goes
Sunburst and
behind
wastewater treatment plant?
is that the one that goes behind the Soldier and Sailors Home?
Yes.
That's a whole spin around and comes up through Wintergreen Gorge and all over. It's not like 19th Street, that set of tracks.
No.
But it's really going to be really nice and iffy.
This is why I say they don't really, when they were doing downtown Erie, there was an idea that you have to make a decision.
Well, the mayor made a decision back then by the name of Tullio to appease the steelworkers in the construction union.
But you got to decide whether you want industry down there or, you got to kind of.
Well, industry is not in Erie anymore.
No, but if you're going to do that over at that one project, how does that affect the, the other project?
Erie's going to be a Geneva on the lake, believe it or not.
Sort of.
And the whole thing here is Erie's now ranked 4th in the state.
In what, city?
Population.
Sizes, yes.
Yeah, but that's a misnomer, I'll tell you why. Because when you look at metro population, we're even lower.
Oh, yes, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, citywide, there's only 4 cities that got 100,000 people. And we're one of them, but for how long that holds up.
We're on the 4th end right now. Chester's got more than Erie does. Did you know that?
Not Chester, Allentown.
Chester.
No, Chester's below us.
Chester is not below anymore.
Well, then we'll be 5th.
Well, then we're 5th. Because Chester has a larger population than Erie does now.
I thought we had dipped under 90.
We gotta get going.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, John, we're going to head off the
We're
air.
overdue.
All right, hit that guy with that good-looking Santa Claus hat.
Well, he's got his sled outside with King and
Matching dogs.
matching
Yep,
dogs.
I got the dog sled out
And,
front.
and let's hope Gannon gives another $500,000 before the end of this year.
That's it?
We need a donation. It's a start. Maybe Fred could do a little harder work.
Stay tuned. We have some good ideas what I'd like to see happen. Of course, it won't let me be an honored alumni after that.
Well, we know one thing. You're going to be sitting in Waddle's seat.
Who?
Waddles. Mr. Waddle?
Oh, I don't know where they'll put me.
Look at Mark. He's laughing.
They might put me.
Have a great afternoon.
I might be the, what do you call it, the lonesome end like Army had?
Yep. You're going to be the lonesome end.
Way out in the, I'll put me way out in the audience.
Well, go have breakfast with that one guy with that new Cadillac, and pick up some pointers.
Okay,
Have a great one.
Take care.
Who's going to be council president?
don't know yet.
Are you lobbying?
I don't think it'd be fair yet.
Now it's time to lobby.
I don't know if it'd be fair yet. Give myself a year.
All right, time to go?
Hey,
Yep.
DJ,
Yes.
you were actually had positive input today. You always worried about
A
that.
little bit, just a little bit. I was overshadowed by Mark.
Mark, you're always, you guys are always welcome, okay?
Maybe one more time yet this year, before the
Yeah.
end of the year.
We got to really get you to open up. You're unshackled. I want to see just crazy.
The only time I could be unshackled is if I take up residence in Fairview.
Oh, Mark and I are gonna do a skit at the comedy club. With that, we'll see you.
He's ready to go. He's gone before they're even.
He's already leaving.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Taxpayers Hotline Show on Erie Zone Government Access, Channel 9.